several questions. In fact, I was going to call it a little later, including from Derek Hunnigan. If elected, will an MEP resign from his position? Certainly her position. And so I'll ask Nick to start and then Gerard to carry us.
Okay. It's a shame you actually haven't got the 1,500 words you'll receive in the post next week, because I actually talk about this. There is huge advantages, and you can, Josh is there, you can others. I produced this booklet to explain what I do as a member of the European Parliament, what I do, my allowances, and also on my website, transparency, etc., etc. You only actually, to get the immense amount of money from the European Parliament, you only actually have to attend there 3 days a month. All you have to do is go in and sign in for 3 days a month, about 10 times a year. 10, 11 times a year. It's all you have to do. And in that I get 15,000 miles paid for by the European Union for me to travel in the UK. So there's a huge advantage for me to be able to travel up and down, and that's one of my commitments, that I will travel, meet every PPC before a general election, speak at branches, be available to talk at a branch in Newcastle-under-Lyme, in Glasgow, in the South West. So it's a huge advantage of being an MEP, and you don't for 3 days. You know, I'm sure there's other candidates who are not MEPs that may have other obligations, be it overseas or whatever, but maybe they could say that they cannot be guaranteed to be in the country and actively, proactively help in this party 27 days of the month. And I will, while still being an MEP and using the financial advantages. As well as being the third
well, the question is, can the leader continue to be an MEP? Well, 2 things on this. First of all, the fact that we get a platform in the media is because we're elected representatives. If the new leader was in a position to resign his MEP seat, then he wouldn't necessarily get any coverage in the media. They are not going to talk to an unelected person. That's the way the media works. You have to have, this is the whole reason why we fought for these seats in the first place. It wasn't because we believe in the European Parliament or because we wanted to get all the money. It was because it gave us a platform from which the media would then speak to us. And of course, under the BBC rules, for example, they are obligated to speak to us. That's why Nigel gets on Question Time. That's why Marta was on the radio Any Questions last night. It's why Nick Griffin got on last week. It's because the BBC has certain rules which they have to apply to. So I think it would be a very negative step for the leader, if it's one of the MEPs, to then actually give up their seat in the Parliament because they wouldn't get spoken to. Secondly, if I could talk about salary and expenses, if I was the MEP and you elect me and you expect me to give up my MEP seat, what am I supposed to live on? The dole money? I mean, I gave up. I was a very successful salesman before I did this. I earned more money, believe it or not, doing what I did than I earned doing this. I've been doing it for 28 years. I was quite happy to move over and do this for less income because this is what I really want to do. The idea that I can give my salary to the party, well, what am I supposed to live on? There are a few MEPs who don't have their own businesses. They're not multi-millionaires. Myself and Nigel are 2 of them. We have a family to bring up and university fees to pay for and all the rest of it. And that's where my salary goes. I have given money to the party. A lot of it doesn't get registered because it's been under the £1,000 level or whatever. But if you want me to, I can tell you exactly how much I've given. It's several £1,000s over the years that I've been doing this. And I put in before 2004, before I ever had a chance in hell of getting elected to anything. On allowances, you have to be very careful with allowances because we're going to see one of our MEPs in court next week about what he did with his allowances. And I come from an environment where you could be sacked if you fiddled £5 on your expenses. Very difficult to get rid of staff, but if you, as somebody said to me a long time ago, if you want to get rid of somebody, we look at their expenses. Now, allowances have to be spent according to the rules. When you go to Brussels, you get your travel allowance, which I don't drive because I'm in London, so I don't quite understand Nikki's figure, but I'll look into it and see where she gets it from. But we get our travel allowance, we get our daily allowance, which is supposed to spend on hotels and accommodation and food and whatever. I probably made a bit of a mistake in 2004 because I decided that I was going to spend most of my time in London trying to, foment rebellion amongst the Londoners, rather than go to Brussels. If I'd have spent 2 days a week in Brussels, I probably could have saved 30,000 quid to put into the party. So you might actually be saying to me now, Gerard, go to Brussels every week for God's sake and save as much money as you can, rather than stay in London. So you've got to be very careful how you spend it. You can't just you've got to be honest, you've got to be within the rules, otherwise the party will get done tremendous damage by what happens if we don't. And of course you have to trade that off. You want to have your MEPs in Brussels all the time and pulling money, or would you rather them back here doing something? Thank you.